He banged on our doors, our windows, even tried walking right into our home while our infant daughter was sleeping. That night, I was done being polite, so when the cops finally showed up and asked me to drive him home, my wife looked him dead in the eye and said, "Not for free, he won't." And the look on his face when he realized what was happening, worth every dollar. If you've ever had someone push you past your breaking point, someone who thought they could just disrespect you without consequence, then hit that like button and get ready. Because this is one of those stories where karma didn't just come quietly, it came flashing red and blue lights. It's been almost 24 years, but I can still remember that night like it happened yesterday. My wife and I were young parents back then, barely figuring life out, living in a small, double-wide mobile home that belonged to her mom. The place wasn't fancy, but it was ours, our little world. And in that world was our baby girl, barely a few months old, sleeping peacefully in her crib. We lived in one of those towns so small that the biggest traffic event of the week was when two pickups arrived at the gas station at the same time. No stoplights, no real crime to speak of, just quiet. Or at least, it used to be quiet. My mother-in-law had been seeing this man. Let's call him Rick. And everyone in town knew Rick. You couldn't not know him. He was the town drunk. He'd start drinking by noon, stumble out of one bar after they kicked him out, and wander down the road to the next one, trying his luck until closing time. There were only 3 bars in town, and he'd get banned from all of them at least once a month.
It was almost a routine. He'd drink, get thrown out, somehow find his way home, pass out, and do it all again the next day. Now, as long as he stayed away from us, I didn't care. But drunk people have a way of thinking they're welcome everywhere, especially when they think they're part of the family. That night, it was around 8 p.m. The house was dark except for the glow of the TV. My wife and I were curled up on the couch, finally getting a rare moment of peace. And then, knock, knock, knock. That heavy, uneven knock that instantly makes your stomach drop. My wife froze. "It's him," she whispered. I knew she was right. We stayed quiet, hoping he'd go away, but he didn't. Instead, he circled the house, knocked on the back door, then the side door, then the windows. The tapping turned into pounding, the kind that rattles the glass and makes your baby stir in her sleep. Every muscle in my body tightened. My wife's eyes darted to the nursery. "Don't wake her," she whispered under her breath, half to me, half to herself. And then, the sound that made my blood run cold. The door handle turning. Click, and the door creaked open. We'd forgotten to lock it. He'd just walked in, like it was his place, like he owed us something. I remember standing up so fast the remote hit the floor. My wife was already on her feet, her voice trembling with anger. "Rick, you need to leave, right now." But he just stood there, swaying slightly, that sloppy, drunken smile on his face. "All I want is a ride home," he slurred. A ride, that's it. Like breaking into someone's home at night was an acceptable form of Uber. My wife grabbed the phone. "Call the police," she said. Her voice wasn't loud, but it was sharp, that kind of tone that cuts through panic.
So I did. I dialed 911 and told the dispatcher what was happening. She was from a bigger city about 40 miles away, the kind of place where real emergencies happen. And when I gave Rick's name, she actually laughed. "Oh, I know that name," she said, like he was a local celebrity. That told me everything I needed to know about how often this guy caused trouble. By the time I hung up, he was still standing there, insisting, "I just need a ride home, man. Don't make a big deal out of it." I remember saying, "Oh, trust me, your ride's coming." Within minutes, I heard the sirens. And because this was a tiny town, it wasn't just one patrol car. No, this was the event of the night. The entire night shift from the local PD showed up, plus 2 county deputies. The gravel outside lit up in flashing red and blue. When they entered, they didn't play around. "Hands where we can see them," one of them shouted. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. But then I thought about my daughter asleep in the next room, and all that pity evaporated. They had their guns drawn. They knew who he was, what he'd done before. And through it all, Rick kept repeating the same thing like a broken record. "All I want is a ride home, just a ride home." The officers finally cuffed him, guided him outside, and took his statement. That's when a female officer turned to my wife. "You know," she said, "you can press charges for breaking and entering. This is your mother's property. You'd have every right." My wife hesitated. I could tell she wanted to, but at the same time, she just looked tired. Exhausted, really. She sighed. "I just want him to stay away from us. Please." The officer nodded, but looked at Rick and said, "You're lucky you didn't wake that baby, because if you had, I wouldn't care what she said. You'd be in jail tonight."
They were willing to let him go if he promised to go home and sleep it off. But Rick, in his infinite drunk wisdom, asked, "Can one of you drive me?" The officers exchanged looks, clearly done with him. "No," one said flatly, "you can walk." Then, to my surprise, one of them turned to me. "Would you mind driving him home? It's just a couple miles up the road." Before I could even process that, my wife spoke up. Her voice cut through the cold night air like a blade. "Not for free, he won't." Every cop there went silent for half a second, and then one of them, the same female officer, smirked. "Oh, you heard the lady," she said, turning to Rick. "How much cash you got on you?" Rick patted his pockets, mumbling, fumbling, until he pulled out a crumpled wad of bills. The officer unfolded it, counted quickly, 40, maybe $60. She raised an eyebrow. "Well," she said, "looks like you just bought yourself a taxi service." The look on his face was priceless. He blinked, confused, like his booze-soaked brain was trying to catch up. "Wait, what? You're making me pay him?" The officer shrugged. "Either that or you go to jail tonight. Your choice." I don't think I've ever seen a man sober up faster. He shoved the bills into my hand, grumbling something about highway robbery. I looked at him, smiled just enough for him to see it, and said, "You wanted a ride home. You got one. But this time, you pay for breaking into the service." So there I was, driving this man through the dark, silent streets of our little town with the flashing lights of the patrol cars fading behind us. He slumped in the passenger seat, muttering to himself. I didn't say a word. The only sound was the gravel crunching under the tires and the low hum of the engine. When we pulled into his driveway, he looked at me with that same pitiful expression. "Come on, man, you're really gonna keep the money?" I looked at him and said, "You're lucky that's all I'm keeping." He didn't have anything to say after that, just stumbled out, slammed the door, and disappeared into the darkness.
When I got back home, my wife was waiting by the door, arms crossed, half angry, half amused. "So," she said, "did our little taxi passenger make it home?" "Oh, yeah," I said, holding out the cash, and he tipped generously. We both laughed, not because it was funny, but because we finally felt like we'd taken some power back. The revenge wasn't about the $40. It was about respect, about boundaries. For years, everyone in town had let this man do whatever he wanted because that's just Rick. Well, that night, not in our house. He wanted a ride? Fine. But this time, he paid for every second of it. And that night, when I looked at my wife holding our sleeping daughter, I realized sometimes justice doesn't have to come from a courtroom.
Sometimes it's as simple as making someone pay for their own bad choices. It's been 2 decades since that night, and every time I drive past that old road, I still remember it. The flashing lights, the fear, and that strange moment of satisfaction when justice balanced the scales in the simplest way possible. So what do you think? Was that fair? Or would you have made him walk? If this story made you smile, smash that like button and tell me in the comments, what's the most satisfying petty revenge you've ever seen? And don't forget to subscribe for more real stories that prove sometimes karma doesn't wait years. Sometimes it comes with sirens.